What's up, Pathfinder players? Welcome back to another Team Player Gaming video. Today I'm going to be continuing my Secrets of Magic spell series, but I'm going to be doing it in a little bit of a different way. First off, there are so many spells in Secrets of Magic that I can't cover all of them. So instead I'm going to be just covering the ones that are good for teamwork, because that's what this channel is about. That being said, there are so few of them at second level that I feel like I can combine them with the third level spells from the book, which there are a lot of. So let's just dive right into this. Let's start with the two best spells for teamwork at second level. That's right, there are only two best teamwork spells in Secrets of Magic for second level. So I'm going to be covering these two very quickly. So I'm going to start with Ignite Fireworks. Basically, you throw fireworks in a 10-foot burst within 60 feet. They deal 1d8 fire damage and 1d8 sonic damage with a reflex save. Even on a successful save, they're dazzled for one round. It's more if they crit fail or fail their save. If they crit fail their save, they're also taking persistent fire damage. Other than that, it's a basic save. Alright, then we have Thundering Dominance. For 1 minute, your animal companion or Eidolon gains a +1 bonus to intimidation checks. The animal companion or Eidolon can also take the Thundering Roar action once during the spell's duration. Each enemy within a 10-foot emanation takes 48 sonic damage with a basic will save against your spell DC. If any of the targets fail their will save, they are also frightened 1. Frightened is one of the best conditions in the game, blah 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 blah. You get the idea. Alright, now we can go into more detail with third level spells. So next we have Day's Wait. It is available to Arcane, Occult, and Primal casters. It takes 2 actions to cast, has a range of 120 feet, and targets 1 living creature. It lasts for 1 minute. The target must make a Fortitude saving throw. If they get a critical success, nothing happens. If they get a regular success, they are fatigued and enfeebled 1 for 1 round. If they fail, they are fatigued and enfeebled 1 for the full minute. And if they critically fail on their saving throw, they are fatigued and enfeebled 2 for the full minute. Also, the fatigue condition does not end when the spell does, but it can still be removed by other means. Heightening this spell to 6th level allows you to target up to 10 creatures. This spell is insane. First of all, fatigued is one of those conditions that nobody ever thinks about that really helps with teamwork. Fatigued is a -1 to AC and saving throws. Plus, this spell makes them enfeebled as well. This makes this spell ideal for a variety of targets. Keep in mind, this is another one of those spells that has an effect even if they succeed on their saving throw. Granted, if they succeed, then it's only for 1 round, but that can be the difference between having a good encounter and a bad encounter. Plus, once you reach 11th level, you can pretty much target the entire enemy party with this spell. I mean, how often are you going to run into more than 10 creatures at once? Alright, now it's time for Envenom Companion. This spell is available to Primal casters only. It targets your animal companion or Eidolon if it's within 30 feet. And it lasts for 1 minute. The first time your animal companion or Eidolon would hit an enemy with an unarmed strike that deals slashing or piercing damage, they also deal an additional 1d8 poison damage. In addition, the enemy hit must make a Fortitude saving throw. On a failure, that enemy is clumsy 1 for 1 round. Heightening this spell by 3 levels increases the damage by 1d8 and the clumsy condition by 1. Again, the damage is not what's important here. What's important is that clumsy condition. Casting this spell at 9th level means the target is clumsy 3 on a failed save. Combine that with the flat-footed condition, and all of a sudden, the enemy's taking a -5 to their AC. Imagine how many more crits a fighter could get with that. Or just anyone. Keep in mind that it may be only for 1 round, But this spell lasts for a minute, and it's on every attack your companion makes. Of course, that's at 9th level, but it's still really good at 3rd level or even 6th. Animal companions were pretty good for teamwork before, but this spell takes them to a whole new level. Next we have a spell that is very simple, but can be very effective. Gravity Well creates a 30-foot radius burst of altered gravity within 120 feet. All creatures in the area move toward the center depending on their reflex saving throws. Creatures and objects nearer to the center move first. Others move as far as they can without being blocked, up to the amount set by their saving throw results. If a target critically succeeds on their saving throw, they don't move. If they succeed on their saving throw, they're moved 5 feet toward the center. If they fail, they're moved 15 feet. And if they critically fail, they're moved 30 feet. This is a fantastic way to get melee attackers that don't have attack of opportunity away from spellcasters and towards melee fighters. You just need to center it so that spellcasters aren't in the area. If you're a melee type that can cast spells from the arcane or occult list, this may be one spell to pick up. In fact, this spell would be ideal for a magus, if used correctly. Just center it on yourself. Then not only are you unaffected, but any spellcasters that are out of the range won't be either. And enemies that fail their save have to come toward you. You're also pulling melee types in the area toward the enemies. Okay, time to talk about Impending Doom. This spell is available to all but primal casters. It targets one living creature within 30 feet and lasts for 3 rounds. The target must make a will saving throw. At the end of 3 rounds, if the target was affected, it takes 66 mental damage. If the target critically succeeds on their saving throw, they are unaffected. If they succeed on their saving throw, then they are unaffected for 1 round. On the 2nd round, they become flat-footed. On the 3rd round, they become frightened 1. At the end of the spell's duration, they take half damage. If they fail their saving throw, they are immediately flat-footed. On the 2nd round, they become frightened 2. On the 3rd round, they are also stunned 1. At the end of the spell's duration, they take the full damage. If the target critically fails their saving throw, they are immediately flat-footed and frightened 3. On the 2nd round, they are stunned 1 as well. On the 3rd round, it also becomes paralyzed. At the end of the spell's duration, the creature takes double damage. Heightening this spell by 1 spell level increases the damage by 2d6. This is another insane debuff spell that does damage. On a failure, flat-footed plus frightened 2 equals -4 to AC. Because yes, flat-footed and frightened do stack. Imagine just giving that to a fighter. As if fighters don't already crit enough. Plus on the 3rd round they lose an action. This is the kind of spell that I wish Divination Wizards would have had in Pathfinder 1. Oneric Mire has a range of 120 feet and takes up a 20-foot burst. Each creature in the area, or that enters the area, must make a will saving throw. On a failure, it believes it's being pulled down toward the earth, taking a -10-foot penalty to speed. On a critical failure, it's also immobilized. In addition to normal escape attempts, a creature affected can also make a will save at the end of their turn, removing these effects on a success. On a critical success, the creature fully disbelieves the illusion and no longer needs to make saves. However, the area is still difficult terrain. This is another one of those spells where it's just like, cast this before the encounter even begins, and then just sit back and use ranged attacks against them, until they get out anyway. Another way to use this spell is if the enemy is already in melee combat with the fighter or another melee type, then this spell just makes sure they can't get to you. Also really good if you have a team full of spellcasters. Ooze Form is one of the few form spells that isn't available to primal casters, and it's one of the few that is actually good for teamwork. Now the spell itself is way too long for me to go through in this video, but it is on screen. But what I will say is this. All the forms that you can transform into have something for teamwork except for the black pudding. If you transform into a gelatinous cube, if you hit a target, they have to succeed on a fortitude save or be stunned 1, or paralyzed for a round if they crit fail. Unfortunately, this does have the incapacitation traits, but it's still a good teamwork option. If you transform into a gray ooze or an ochre jelly, you can auto-grab on a hit for an action. You just need to be careful about when you cast this spell, because once you go ooze, you have a max speed of 15 feet. That means in order to use all these great teamwork options, you have to be at maximum 15 feet away from your targets. But heightening this spell does increase your reach, so there's that too. Phantom Prison only works on large or smaller creatures. You target one such creature within 50 feet. This spell lasts for 1 minute and requires a will saving throw. You trap the creature in illusory walls. No other creature can see or feel these walls, and the target can't see anything outside the wall. The target can attempt a will save when the spell is cast, each time it attempts to interact with the walls, and each time something from outside the walls affects the target. On a success, the spell ends. Heightening the spell to 8th level allows you to target up to 5 creatures. This spell right here is perfect to put on melee types that have low will save. It can take them out of the fight for multiple rounds. Cast this spell at the right time, and as long as they don't succeed on their first save, they're gonna have to spend an action to try to escape, even if they do manage to make the save the second time. This spell is best used on bosses that have low will saves. Spells like this are why Recall Knowledge is so good. Unfortunately, this spell doesn't work very well in parties that don't work together as a team. If you cast this spell and somebody decides to attack the creature that's inside the walls, guess what? They get another will save. This spell works much better if you ignore the one that's inside the walls and focus on other creatures. Then, once those creatures are down, then you focus on the one inside the walls. Positive Attunement is just a lesser version of the Regenerate spell. Its range is touch, and you can target one living or undead creature. If used on an undead creature, they get a will saving throw. This spell can be sustained for up to 1 minute. If you use this spell on a living creature, it heals for 1d8 points of damage immediately and at the end of each of your turns. Unfortunately, effects that increase healing only increase the initial healing. If you use this spell on an undead creature or one that has negative healing, it takes 1d8 positive damage depending on the result of its will save. On a critical success, the creature is unaffected. On a success, the creature is damaged once and the spell ends. On a failed saving throw, the creature is damaged immediately and at the end of each of your turns. If they critically fail their saving throw, the damage from failure is doubled. Heightening this spell by 3 levels increases the damage and healing by 1d8. This spell is okay for teamwork when you use it on an undead creature. It's great when you use it on one of your allies. It's obviously not as good as Regenerate, because come on, this is a 3rd level spell, and Regenerate is a 7th level spell. But if you want a spell similar to Regenerate at a pretty decent level, this is the spell for you. Next up we have Roaring Applause. Not only is this spell great flavor for a bard, but it's a fantastic teamwork option as well. This spell targets one creature within 60 feet, and requires a will saving throw. You can sustain this spell indefinitely. The target or targets of this spell must be able to see, hear, or otherwise understand you. You incite cheers and applause. If the target or targets critically succeed on their saving throw, nothing happens. If they succeed on their saving throw, they can't use reactions. If they fail their saving throw, they can't use reactions and are slowed 1. The applause is also so involved that it has the Manipulate trait. This triggers reactions based on the Manipulate trait at the beginning of the target's turn. If they critically fail their saving throw, they take the same effects as failing the saving throw, except they're also fascinated by you. At 11th level, when you can cast 6th level spells, you can use this spell to target up to 10 creatures. If they succeed on their saving throw, they can't use reactions, which means no attack of opportunity or anything like that. On a failed saving throw, they can't use attack of opportunities and actually trigger attacks of opportunity from anyone that has it at the beginning of their turn. So essentially, as long as the fighter is right next to any of the enemies you've targeted, they get an attack of opportunity every single round. And this is for as long as you sustain it, with no limit. Keep in mind, they also lose an action every round as well. If you're a bard, take this. And now it's time to talk about my favorite new 3rd level spell. It is known as Rouse Skeletons. This spell is insane. It's one of the best teamwork spells I've seen so far in Secrets of Magic. When you cast this spell, you target one 10-foot burst within 60 feet. This spell can be sustained for up to 1 minute. Skeletal forms erupt from a solid surface such as a stone floor and fill the burst. The area they fill is difficult terrain. Their grasping claws deal 2d6 slashing damage to creatures on the ground in the area, with a basic reflex save. Each round after that, the first time you sustain the spell, you can move the area up to 20 feet within the range of the spell and deal 2d6 slashing damage to each creature in the new area, with a basic reflex save. Damaging or destroying the skeletons is irrelevant, as new bones pull up from the ground to repair and replace any that are obliterated. Heightening this spell by 2 levels increases the damage by 1d6. The damage this spell does isn't even relevant. It is difficult terrain that you can literally move. Sure, it's only 20 feet, but you can move this spell with people that are moving around. That means if you use this spell right, they're wasting an action every turn, assuming they don't outspeed it. Plus, as a GM, I would say that if they try to destroy or damage the skeletons, that's an action as well. And keep in mind, you can also move this spell in between different foes. If you're not a primal caster, definitely pick up this spell. And that's going to wrap up this video. Are there other good teamwork spells of these levels? Yes. However, these are the best ones that I found. The other spells just didn't do enough from the teamwork standpoint, or were just too situational. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Pathfinder 2nd Edition teamwork content. You can also check me out on Facebook and on Twitter. But if you really want to support me, you can pledge to me on Patreon. Links are in the description. So until next time, remember, teamwork is vital.